All righty. Okay. It's not ESPN's 30 for 30. However, it's my 98 for 98. The 98 seasons in the history of the New York football Giants. Going to try to get it done in 98 days. That's probably not going to happen. But I am going to get it done before the beginning of the season starts, which starts September 10th against those Dallas Cowboys. And we're in the 2002 season, which just happened to be the 78th season in the history of the New York football Giants. 78th season in the history of the Giants, 83rd season in the history of the NFL. NFL started in 1920, Giants started in 1925. So Giants are 5 years younger than the NFL. The 2002 season was certainly a successful one. It's a shame because Jim Fossil's had this is his sixth season, and he's taken the Giants to this will be his third playoff appearance in 6 seasons. He had an 8-8 season. He had 2 7-9 seasons. So very it's very successful. Very very successful. 6 seasons, 3 playoff trips. Of course, the one trip to the Super Bowl in 2000. So 6 seasons were very very successful. It's just a shame that in 2003 they really had a bad season, and just the one bad season, and his time was over. So this is the 6th of his 7 seasons with the Giants. Jim Fossil is the coach. I said, very successful season. He unfortunately, when he got into the playoffs, the 2 most gut-wrenching losses in the history of the Giants in the playoffs, and then of course we had the one massacre in the Super Bowl. So when he lost in the Super Bowl, but when he lost in the playoffs, it was that's about all I could say. And this one here, this Super Bowl, this playoff loss here was probably the most painful. This was just we'll go over it in a little bit, but yeah, when his team's lost in the playoffs, boy, I'll tell you what. All right, let's see. So how did 2002 start off for the Giants in the preseason here? Well, they were 2-2. They actually they played. The Houston Texans joined. A little side note here: the Houston Texans joined the league in 2002, giving the NFL 32 teams. So in 2002, right, it is the same format that we have now. We have 8 4-team divisions, right? You got 4 divisions in the NFC, 4 divisions in the AFC. Right before that, that wasn't the case, right? But now we have 8 4-team divisions because there's an even number of obviously 32. So therefore the Houston Texans joined the NFL, right, as an expansion team, and in the Hall of Fame game, Houston Texans' first game ever, preseason, was against the New York Giants at Fawcett Stadium. And the Giants would win 34-17. I don't know if you remember. If you ever check it out, and that just happened to be the first game ever that Jerry McKinney played for the New York Giants. And I don't remember the name of the defensive back, but you can tell Jerry McKinney was going to be something special. He had a one catch. He caught it. He started running down the sideline, and one of the defensive backs for I can't remember his name. Maybe you can Google it, YouTube it, and he was running down the sideline. One of the defensive backs for the Texans came up to try to make the tackle, and Jeremy McKinney just lowered his shoulders, bam, knocked the guy on his butt, and just kept running. It was something. It was something special. You knew Jeremy McKinney was here to play some football, right? So the Giants played, let's see here. The first game they won, obviously against the Texans, 34-17. The following week, they played on August 10th against the New England Patriots at Giants Stadium. They won 22-19. Then the final 2 games the Giants would lose. They played Saturday, August 17th in Atlanta, in the Georgia Dome against the Falcons. They lost 36-24. And then the final game of the preseason on Saturday, August 24th, against the New York Jets. The Giants were the away team. The Jets would win 28-7. So the Giants were, let's see here. There you go. 2-2 in their the preseason. So, nothing's, once again, it was just preseason, but I always remember that one Hall of Fame game. And then after that, then they wound up playing the Ravens. Okay. Then they played the Ravens on Thursday, August 29th. And they beat the Ravens 13-0. So the Giants wound up being 3-2 in the preseason. They were 3-2. So because they usually you play 4 games, but because they played in the Hall of Fame game, they give them the 5 games. So the final preseason game, they played 5 preseason games. So on August 29th, they played their 5th one against the Baltimore Ravens. They won 13-0. So their preseason was 3-2. So let's see. So now their draft, of course, we know in the first round, they went up and they took Jeremy Shockey. But interestingly enough, what they wound up doing in the first round was what they kind of did this season in 2023. They traded up one spot, right, to get Deonte Banks. They traded with the Jaguars and they moved up one spot. Well, it's the same thing they did with the Titans. I guess I'm not sure if they were afraid that I don't know who was going to jump up to get Jeremy Shockey. I mean, behind the Giants were the Browns, the Falcons, the Redskins, the Broncos, the Seahawks, the Buccaneers. I'm not sure. I thought somebody maybe was going to jump up and grab Jeremy Shockey. So the Giants, well, when the Titans won the clock at 14, the Giants were 15. Giants swapped picks with the Titans. So it cost the Giants to move up one spot. It cost them their first round pick and their 4th round pick. So the first and the 4th to move up from 15 to 14 in the first round. Now, the Giants wound up taking Jeremy Shockey, and, of course, the Titans wound up taking Albert Haynesworth. Wow. What an interesting pick he wound up being. Anyway, so, Jeremy Shockey, phenomenal career with the Giants. Unfortunately, he broke his leg in the 2000 with like 2-3 games against the Redskins. So it was 2-3 games left to go in the 2007 season. Maybe it was 3. So somewhere around there. It wasn't the last game, but it was within a few games to go in the end of the season, and that was his final game he ever played for the Giants. Because after that, I guess the Giants figured they didn't need him because we had Kevin Boss. So, but Jeremy Shockey went on and he wound up getting another Super Bowl ring. He didn't feel, he felt kind of like an outsider. He didn't feel like he earned it because he didn't participate in the playoffs. He didn't participate in the Super Bowl, so he kind of felt like he didn't really not deserve. I don't know. He just felt like an outsider, right? But when he wound up winning this Super Bowl with the Saints, he was on the team and all of that. So at least he got himself a Super Bowl ring. He got 2 Super Bowl rings, but the second one they got when he was with the Saints. At least he was playing at the time. He wasn't injured with a broken leg. But so that's with the Giants. Other than that, this draft here was nothing really super spectacular for the Giants. Their 2nd round pick, they wound up taking Tim Carter from Auburn at wide receiver. Now, he played 7 seasons, but, I mean, you're taking a wide receiver in the 2nd round. He played 7 seasons. The most receptions he had in the season was 26. He played 5 years for the Giants. I mean, let's see. First year, it looked like he was injured. He only played in 5 games, but he injured. In 2003, he played in only 12 games. 2004, he played in 5 games. 2005, he played in 15 games. He had 10 catches. 2006, he played in all 16 games. He had 22 catches. I mean, this is your 2nd round pick. I mean, just a dud, an absolute dud of a pick. He played in 2007. He played with Cleveland in 2009. He wound up playing with St. Louis, and his career was over. I mean, absolute second-round pick. He played 7 seasons and a grand total of 81 catches in 7 seasons for a second-round pick. Absolutely horrible pick. Horrible pick by Ernie Accorsi. Then the Giants took in the 3rd-round pick. Just another horrible pick. Jeff Hatch, a tackle from Pennsylvania, from Penn. I mean, let's see. How many? 1 season he played. He played 4 games. He started 4 games at tackle for the Giants in 2003. So he drafted in 2002, and he didn't even make the team in 2002. He played 2003, played 4 games for the Giants in 2003, and his career was over. Horrible pick. A 3rd-round pick, absolutely horrible. So now the Giants didn't have a 4th-round pick because they traded that to trade up to get Jerry Mashaki in the 1st round. They gave that pick to the Titans. All right, so the Giants then had a 5th-round pick, which was not too bad. I mean, oddly enough, their 5th and 6th-round picks, well, not too bad, especially for being a 5th and 6th-round pick. 5th-round pick, they took Nick Greason, okay, a linebacker from Wisconsin. And he had a 7-year career. Not bad for a 5th-round pick, right? What did he play? 4 years for the Giants. Then in 2006, he was with Jacksonville. Then he wound up with the Baltimore Ravens in 2007 and 2008. It was nothing special. 2005, he started 12 games for the Giants, right? What did he play overall? He played in 54 games for the Giants in 4 seasons. So, not too bad. Once again, a 5th-round pick, you don't expect a ton. And, what was it? 2005, he had 88 tackles. 2004, he had 80 tackles. Not bad. Not a bad pick at all. It's just that, what's hard is when you those 2nd round and those 3rd-round picks, especially the seconds, you got to hit on a 2nd-round pick. And when you pick the Carter, I mean, just an absolute dud, and the 3rd-round pick was an absolute total dud. You're really hurting your ball club. Really, really hurting your ball club. So they took Nick Greason, all right, in the 5th round. The 6th round, they took another guy, good old Wesley Mallard, another linebacker, okay, from Oregon. And he played, looks like he played 5 seasons. He played 2002, 3, and 4 with the Giants. In 2005, he played New England and Tampa Bay. And in 2006, he finished up his career in Tampa Bay. Now, he never started a game, all right? But he played for the Giants. He played He played in 34 games for the Giants. Nothing super spectacular. He was probably a special teamer, right? But once again, he was a 6th-round selection. And he had, he had a little bit of a career. He played 5 seasons. So, all right, then we have so that was the 6th-round pick. All right, so in round 7, okay, the Giants had 2 picks in the 7th round. The first one was Darrell Jones, a wide receiver from Miami, Florida, and wasn't a very good pick. Let's see, what do we got here? He played 2002 with the Giants. He actually started 6 games for the Giants. Interestingly enough, it looks like he didn't have any receptions. He was a punt returner and a kick returner for the Giants. And in 2004, he finished up his career. He played in 2 games for the Chicago Bears. So, let's see. And then the Giants had their compensatory pick was Quincy Monk, another linebacker from North Carolina. So the Giants had 7 picks. 3 of them they took were linebackers. So they took Quincy Monk. He played, 3 seasons. And what do we have here? He played 2002 and 2003 with the Giants, and he finished up his career in 2004 with the Houston Texans. He never started in any game for any of the teams. He played 13 games for the Giants. So, but once again, he was a compensatory 7th-round pick, nothing special. Now the Giants, I was just a little surprised, okay. Yeah, because they had lost. They lost more than, I mean, quite a bit more than what they gained. I mean, here the addition, Brian Fritsch, a defensive end from the Cowboys, but they lost. They lost Morton Anderson. They lost Jesse Armstead. They lost Lomas Brown. They lost Sam Garnes, and they lost Joe Juravicious. And all they got in return was a 7th-round compensatory pick for that. That's a bit odd. Really a bit odd. The Giants did get some. They got some undrafted free agents of note. One was Matt Bryant. He got kicked in the NFL for like 300 years. And of course, oddly enough, the Giants. He was only on the Giants for a few years, and they let him go. And then he wound up playing for another like 15 seasons in the NFL. The Giants got Ryan Clark, a safety from LSU. They got Bob Jones, a long snapper from Penn State. Matt Mitrione, a defensive tackle from Purdue, and they took Charles Stackhouse, a fullback from Ole Miss. That's what it has here. These are undrafted free agents of note the Giants had. So that was a 2002. So the 2002 Wikipedia, what do they say here? So the 2002 season for the New York Giants was the 78th season for the Giants in the National Football League, and their 6th under head coach Jim Fassel. The team improved upon their 7-9 record the previous season. They were nothing. Their offense was not very good at all, and they had a few real. They had like 3 real tough losses that they lost the games like in the final minute or two. 2 of them were to the Eagles and 1 were to the Rams, and the Giants missed the playoffs by like 2 games, and those 3 tough losses that they wind up having really, really hurt them. But, they were nothing super special. They probably weren't going to go, even if they did make the playoffs, probably weren't going to go very far anyway. But they had a few tough losses that really hurt their chances of making the playoffs in 2001. Let's see here. After a midseason slump, head coach Jim Fassel stripped the offensive coordinator Sean Payton of play calling duties. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah, he and after this, this was Sean Payton's. I remember him now the head coach of the Denver Broncos, right? But Sean Payton would become the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, calling the plays with, of course, Drew Brees. But winning a Super Bowl with Jeremy Shockey, right? But so Sean Payton. So the Giants were going through a slump here, is what it says here. Let me see here. If we can zone in on us here. What are we talking about here? Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what game they're talking about, but the Giants scored 9 points, and they scored 7 points, and they scored 21, but then they scored 10, and then they scored 3. And after that, they were 3-4. So, their offense was not doing, there's, 9 points, 7 points, 10 points, 3 points, not good. In the first game of the season, the Giants lost, they scored 13 points to the 49ers. So, not very, very good. So, somewhere along the line in there, Jim Fassel stripped Sean Payton of his play calling duties. Okay. And I know Sean Payton said that was really an eye opener. That was an eye opener. And Jim Fassel started calling the plays because, he's the, he's the commander in chief. And if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down calling the plays. Right. So he stripped offensive coordinator Sean Payton of the play calling duties, and the Giants went onto a winning streak that would carry them to the playoffs. They had to win the final 4 games of the season. They were 6-6 at one point, which we're going to go over in a few minutes here. And they won their final 4 games that finished 10-6. So a very, very, very good season. Very good. They a good rebound because they were 7-9, and they rebounded to be 10-6. But after the winning streak, they were carrying them to the playoffs. They were leading 35-14 in the third quarter of the NFC wildcard game. And then, this one here, it was not an easy catch, but Jeremy Shockey has some very good hands. Okay. And it was a pass. Kerry Collins threw it to him. I think he was like in the corner of the end zone. Jeremy Shockey jumped up. The ball went through his hands. The Giants had to settle for a field goal, making the score 38-14. And then the the 49ers came back and got 39-38. Now, had Jeremy Shockey caught that pass and made it 42-14, that might have been enough to save the day for the New York Giants. But the ball went through his hands, and he kicked the field goal. But at the time, the Giants are winning 30. It's like I don't know, about 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, and the Giants wind up giving up 25 points in the final 20 minutes of the ball game, and they wound up losing. But I mean, with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, and you're up 38-14 after they kicked the field goal, you're feeling like you should win the football game. But turned out that the ball that went through Jeremy Shockey's hands fell incomplete, and the Giants had to kick a field goal. Those 4 extra points came back to haunt the Giants. I don't think the Giants would have wound up going very far anyway, because the following week, the 49ers, after they beat the Giants, they went on the road and they played the Buccaneers, the eventual Super Bowl champion Buccaneers, and they got smoked because the Bucs had a very nice offense, but their defense was great. Their defense with Warren Sapp and company, defense was really, really special. So, let's see. So the Giants kicked a field goal in the playoff game to go up 38-14. So Fossil decided to rest starting running back Tiki Barber to save him for the next round. Ooh. But the 49ers gained momentum, and the Giants did not score again, losing the game 39-38. Following the season, Payton was not retained. Sean Payton was not retained, but he won a Super Bowl 7 years later as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints with Jeremy Shockey. Good for him. Good for him. All right, so the New York Giants here. I mean, what happened here? Well, let's see here. The Giants points for, they scored 20 points a game, which is 22nd out of 32. Once again, that they had weapons. They had weapons. I mean, you got Ike Hilliard, you got Amani Toomer, you got Jeremy Shockey, you got Tiki Barber, and you got Kerry Collins throwing the football. You got some weapons. You can, quite possibly could have been because of maybe Sean Payton wasn't doing a good job of calling plays. I mean, they should have put up some points. I'm not saying it should have been the greatest show on turf. They should have scored 80 points a game or not, but with those weapons, you should have scored more than 20 points a game. Their defense was third in the whole league. They go up 17 points a game. Right? Let's see here. So Kerry Collins started and played in all 16 games. He was 10-6. He completed 61.5% of his passes. He had 19 touchdowns. He had over 4,000 yards passing, and he threw 14 interceptions. Let's see here. Tiki Barber, this was his first real good breakout season here. He had almost 2,000 total yards. He had almost 1,400 yards rushing. He had almost 600 yards receiving. So he wound up with 13. He wound up with 6. He wound up with 1,900 in the regular season. 1,984 all-purpose yards. Almost 2,000 yards. Of course, his final 3 seasons in the NFL, he would have back-to-back 2,000-yard all-purpose seasons, and then, of course, he would retire. And the morons in the Hall of Fame don't think he's a Hall of Famer. So I disagree with that. Because where he's at all of the guys above, all the players above him with his total yards between rushing and receiving, all the guys above him are either in the Hall of Fame or will be, like Larry Fitzgerald, I believe, is above him. Adrian Peterson is above him. Those guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame. So either all the guys, the 14 guys above him, are either in the Hall of Fame or will be in the Hall of Fame. And the 3 guys directly below Tiki Barber are in the Hall of Fame as well, too. So basically, out of the top, 15, 16, top 18 guys, as far as with yardage, all of them are in the Hall of Fame or will be in the Hall of Fame, except for Tiki Barber, and that's wrong. That's wrong. It's a shame Tiki Barber retired after 2006. If he played in 2007, he would have probably well over 17,000 all-purpose yards. Would have had himself a Super Bowl ring, and he would have he'd be in the Hall of Fame right now. I have no doubt about that. But Anyway, but Tiki Barber had 1,387 yards rushing. He averaged 4.6 yards a carry. He had 69 receptions. He had 11 rushing touchdowns. Ron Dayne, he started going, and Ron Dayne's first season with the Giants, he had 770 yards, I think it was. I think his second season, he had like 600 and something yards. This season, he had 400 yards. So he started going down. In 2003, he didn't even play. 2004, he only had like 100 or 200 yards. His time was he only averaged 3.4 yards a carry. He had 125 carries for 428 yards, and he caught 11 passes out of the backfield. I said the Giants had Monty Toomer caught 82 passes. Ike Hilliard only played half the season. He was injured. He caught 27 passes. All right, but Jeremy Shockey caught 74 balls. Dan Campbell, right, the coach of the Lions, he caught 22 passes. Ron Dixon. He caught 22 passes. Charles Stackhouse, a fullback, he caught 13 passes. I kill you. That. So I mean, they certainly had some weapons. One of the things also was Tim Carter. I mean, I mean, just once again, it being the Giants, he only played in 5 games for the Giants. It was a second round pick. He caught 2 passes for the Giants. He's your second round selection. Pick number 46 overall. He caught 2 passes for him all year long. 2 passes. I mean, this guy, between Carter should have been a weapon, right? In the second round. It was a bad pick. I mean, we should have had Carter, who should have been a weapon. Shockey, Hilliard, Toomer, Tiki Bar, we should, But that was a bad pick by Ernie Accorsi in the second round. So, the Giants, they had 1,875 yards. They averaged 117 yards a game rushing. They were pretty good. They ran the ball almost 500 times, 486 yards, 486 times. So they really committed to the run. I said, but Tiki started really coming of age this year. Of course, Matt Bryant didn't have too bad of a season. He was 26 out of 32. 81.3% field goal kicking. That's pretty good. Let's see. The Michael Strahan had 11 sacks. The Giants as a team had 37, but they only gave up 24 sacks. So they had a very, very good offensive line. Had a very, very good season. Protecting the quarterback. They had good season running. Tiki Barber ran for a lot of yards. What do we got here? Michael Barrow, he had 2.5 sacks. Sean Williams, coming out of the safety, he had 2 sacks. Brandon Short had 3 sacks. Kenny Holmes had 8 sacks. My man Cornelius Griffin, he had 4. Frank Ferreira, forgot about him. Yeah, he had 2.5. So, and then a couple other guys had a sack. Kevin Lewis had a sack. Nick Greason had a sack. So, but you would kind of think that really, with some of the weapons the Giants had, that they should have maybe scored some more points than what they did. But well, I guess that's why Jim Fossil took the coach, the play calling duties from Sean Payton. So the Giants opened up, the first game of the season at home, and they lost 16-13 to the 49ers. And of course, it would come back. The 49ers would get them 2 times, right? The 49ers would get them in the first game of the season, beat them, and the 49ers would get them and beat the Giants in the Giants' last game of the season. So 16-13. So the Giants started off 0-1. Then they went on the road and they beat the St. Louis Rams, who went to the Super Bowl the year before. So this kind of that game right there, going on the road and beating the greatest show in turf, right? Scoring some points against a very good Rams defense, and beating Kurt Warner and the greatest show on turf, 26-21. That showed that the Giants had some capability, possibility, what they could do. You go against the defending NFC champion in their home and you beat them 26-21. That showed that you belong with the big boys. And that was the case. The following week, the Giants at home, this is where I guess the play calling maybe started going a little sour. The Giants beat the Seahawks, but it was 9-6. So the Giants are 2-1, but the following week they would lose on the road to the Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals. They would lose 21-7. Another bad offensive performance. The following week, the Giants would play the Cowboys, who were not very good this year, this particular season. The Giants in Dallas would win 21-17. Then the following week, the Atlanta Falcons would come to town, and the Falcons would beat the Giants 17-10. Once again, a very poor offensive outing for the Giants. So now the Giants are 3-3. They were fluctuating around 500 almost like the whole season, except for the final 4 games. They'd win a game, lose a game, win a game, So now, as I said, after this, they were 3-3. Then the following week, once again, another poor offensive outing. They would lose Monday night to the Eagles. They would lose 17-3. Another poor out, 3 points, right? So now the Giants are 3-4. Well, then they would rebound, right? They would play Tom Coughlin and the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? And let's see, at home, the Giants would win 24-17, and now they're 4-4. The following week in Minnesota, the Giants would go on the road and beat the Vikings 27-20. So now the Giants are 5-4. Then the Giants would win a close one the following week at home against the Washington Redskins. They would win 19-17. Now the Giants are 6-4. But they would bounce back toward 500 once again. This one was tough. This was tough. Against the expansion Houston Texans, right? They would lose 16-14. They played in Houston, right? And they lost to the expansion Houston Texans, 16-14. A poor offensive outing cost them the game. So now the Giants are 6-5 after their embarrassing loss to the Texans. But I guess it wasn't as embarrassing because the Texans' first ever game was at home against the Cowboys, and they beat the Cowboys. Now that's embarrassing. When you're an expansion team, okay, and your first game ever is against an established team like the Cowboys, and you wind up beating them. That's embarrassing. So, but also the Giants lost to the Texans. That was pretty bad too. So now the Giants are 6-5. Then the Giants would wind up losing another tough game. They would lose to the Tennessee Titans 32-29 at home, and now the Giants are 6-6. So the Giants got 4 games left to go. It's put up or shut up. Well, the Giants, they rallied. They won their final 4 games. They become 10-6. They didn't get obviously the division because that back then the cream of the crop was the Philadelphia Eagles. They went to 4 straight championship games, but they won the final 4 games, which is good enough to get them into the wild card. So with their let's see here. With their 13th game of the season, the Giants went on the road against Washington, and they won 27-21. Now the Giants are 7-6. Then the following week, the Giants, a couple little offensive outbursts here. Let's check this out. At home against the Dallas Cowboys, the Giants pounded the Cowboys 37-7. Now the Giants are 8-6, keeping their playoff chances alive. The following week, the Giants played the Colts and Mr. Peyton Manning in Indianapolis, right? The Giants would win 44-27. So now the Giants are 9-6. And then the final game of the season. Now I remember this one. This one was almost one of those games, but it just goes to show you, how good the Eagles were. The Giants scored 13, played the Eagles 2 times. They scored 13 points against the Eagles in 2 games. And this one they won at home in overtime. They beat them. They beat the Eagles 10-7. Now I remember this game, the final game of the season. The Giants totally outplayed the Eagles. Totally outplayed them. The Giants had 23 first downs. The Eagles had 9. The Giants had 461 yards of offense. They scored 10 points. The Eagles had 209 yards of offense. And the Eagles were winning 209 yards of offense. The Eagles were winning almost the whole game. It wasn't until it was 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter that the Giants finally scored a touchdown just to tie the Eagles up. The Eagles scored a touchdown in the first quarter. They didn't score the rest of the game. The Giants defense really shut them down. But I'll never forget this game here. So the Giants had the ball. They were moving up and down. They had 4 turnovers. Somehow the Giants fumbled the ball 7 times in this game. It was just once again the luck of the Eagles, right? I just can't stand the Eagles. Absolutely can't stand the Eagles. The Giants are moving up and down the field, but the Giants had 4 turnovers. The Eagles only had 1. So I just can't stand the Eagles. But anyway, I said the Giants lost 3 fumbles. They fumbled it 7 times, and they lost 3 of them. But obviously, the Giants had the ball. 4th quarter, they were marching down the field, and with 8 minutes and 8 seconds left to go in the game, Kerry Collins lofted a pass toward the corner of the end zone. And Jeremy, I'm not sure if it was Brian Dawkins. I think it might have been Brian Dawkins was covering Shockey. There was like a jump ball. Shockey went up, jumped, I think just out jumped. If it was Dawkins, he jumped and pulled it in. They both fell to the ground, but Shockey pulled it in, and you can see Shockey was moving his head up and down, saying something to the Eagle guys. I'm not sure, I don't know what he was saying, but he was saying something to him, and so that tied the game up at 7-7, sending in overtime. And then Matt Bryant kicked a 39-yard field goal with 9 minutes and 50 seconds left in overtime to give the Giants a 10-7 win. That was an exciting game. The Giants had some close encounters there with the Eagles, especially at home. And unfortunately, a couple of those close encounters they wound up losing. But this one they won 10-7. So they get the Giants at 10-6 and sent them into the playoffs. So let's see, what does Wikipedia have to say about this 2002 season here? 2002 NFL season was the 83rd regular season in history of the National Football League. The league went back to an even number of teams with the addition of the Houston Texans. The league has remained static with 32 teams since. So basically, the past 20 plus years, there's been 32 teams. Well, it would be kind of tough if all of a sudden you add a 33rd team in there, so that is what it is. Let's see, the clubs were realigned into 8 divisions, 4 teams in each. Also, the Chicago Bears played their home games in 2002 in Champaign, Illinois at Memorial Stadium because of the reconstruction of Soldier Field. The NFL title was won by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they defeated the Oakland Raiders in the Super Bowl at Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego, California on January 26, 2003. It would be the last Super Bowl held in January and the last to be hosted in San Diego. Yeah, because now all the Super Bowls are held in February. So let's go to the AFC, shall we? All right. In the AFC East, the Jets won with a record of 9-7. The Patriots won 9-7, but the Jets finished ahead of the New England in the AFC East based on a better record in common games. The Jets were 8-4, and the Patriots were 7-5. So, actually, and the Dolphins were 9-7 as well too. And let's see, and the Jets won based on over Miami based on a better division record. The Jets were 4-2, and Miami was 2-4. So that's why the Jets. There were 3 teams tied at 9-7. The Jets wound up winning the division. The AFC North. Pittsburgh won with a record of 10-5-1, and Cleveland got a wild card with the record of 9-7. In the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans won with a record of 11-5, and the Indianapolis Colts were in second place with a record of 10-6. In the AFC West, the Oakland Raiders won with a record of 11-5. So in the playoffs, Pittsburgh beat Cleveland 36-33. I remember that game. A very exciting game. 36-33. And then at Giant Stadium, the Jets won 41-0 over the Colts. So in a divisional round, Tennessee beat Pittsburgh 34-31 in overtime. Once again, that was another very good game. And the Jets traveled to Oakland to play the Raiders, and the Raiders would win 30-10, setting up the championship game where the Raiders beat the Tennessee Titans 41-24, sending the Oakland Raiders to the Super Bowl. In the NFC, right, we had the Philadelphia Eagles, who won with a record of 12-4. And the Giants were in second place with a record of 10-6. So the Giants were one of the 2 wildcard teams. In the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers won with a record of 12-4. The NFC South, Tampa Bay won with a record of 12-4. And the Atlanta Falcons were 9-6-1. So they were the other wildcard team. So and in the NFC West, the San Francisco 49ers won with a record of 10-6. So in those playoffs, right? Atlanta, this was the first time. I'm not sure if it was ever in just Green Bay or it might have been just Lambeau Field, but this is the first time that the Packers lost at, I believe it was maybe Lambeau Field in the playoffs ever. That Michael Vick and the Atlanta Falcons went in there and beat them 27-7. Of course, the Giants would also beat the Packers there 2 times as well, too. But the first time ever, I think it may not have been just in Green Bay. I think it might have been at Lambeau Field. I'm not sure about that, but the Falcons would win 27-7. Then, of course, in the other wild card game is when the San Francisco 49ers beat the Giants 39-38. I mean, it's this, as I said, when Jim Fossil, the 1997 season for Jim Fossil, the Giants lost 23-22, I believe it was, to the Vikings. The Vikings scored 10 points in the final 4 or 5 minutes of the game to beat the Giants. It was just a gut-wrenching. This one was probably worse because the Giants were up 38-14. You're up by 24 points with they scored 2. So with about 15 seconds, with about 18 minutes to go in the game, the Giants were up by 24 points, and they lose. And it wasn't 3 touchdowns either. It was 3 touchdowns and a field goal. So the 49ers scored 4 times in the final 17 minutes of the game. And that wasn't bad. The Giants wind up with the ball back, after the 49ers scored. So we'll go over there. So after the ball went through Jeremy Shockey's hand, which might have sealed the deal, which would have put the Giants up 42-14. It might have been the difference there. But the ball went through, and Matt Bryant kicked a field goal to make it 38-14. While Terrell Owens had a 26-yard touchdown pass. They got the 2-point conversion to make it 38-22. Then 5 seconds into the fourth quarter, Jeff Garcia had a 14-yard rush, and they completed a 2-point conversion. Make it now with 4, almost the whole quarter left. Now that being down 24 points, now 5 seconds into the fourth quarter, the 49ers are only down by 8 points. Under the Giants, whatever, just kept marching up and down the field, up and down the field, up and down the field. Somewhere along the line, the final 20 minutes of the game, they couldn't move the ball. 49ers had all the momentum. Well, so with about 7 minutes and 49 seconds left to go, the 49ers kicked a field goal to make it 38-33. Then with 1 minute to go, Jeff Garcia completed a 13-yard touchdown pass. They went for 2, didn't get it, but put them up by a point, 39-38. So the Giants got the ball back with a minute to go. Well, they finally started moving the ball. They got the ball. They marched down the field, and it was I think his name was Trey Junkin, I believe it was, the long snapper. It was a bad snap. Who does it say? Wait. Matt Allen got it. And basically, I guess it was after the snap was bad. He got the ball, and instead of them, kicking it, he got up and it was, whatever he yelled, fire, whatever it is. So that tells the guys, whoever eligible receivers are, to start running down the field. So he's running to his right, going like this, waving the ball like this. So he throws the ball down the field, and one of the Giants' eligible receivers, I'm not sure who it was. If it was, didn't he have the starting lineups here? Was it Seibert? Might have been Rich Seibert. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was one of the Giants' offensive linemen was downfield, an eligible receiver. The ball gets thrown to him, and he's kind of like getting ready to try to catch it. I don't know if he would have caught it or not, but he gets pulled down by one of the 49 defenders. He gets interfered. Should have been a penalty. Should have been, the Giants should at least had a retry or something like that. It should have been a penalty. The refs never called it. They said it was no good. They just walked off the field and the game was over. So the Giants really got screwed on that one. They got screwed on that one. I mean, but as I said, but as we see in the playoffs here, I mean that was just a gut wrenching. I mean, when you're up by 24 points with like 17, 18 minutes to go in the game, you wind up losing it. And then of course the bad call at the last play of the game just topped it all off. It was just absolutely horrible. But as you see here, it may not have mattered because in the divisional round of the playoffs, the following week, San Francisco went to play in Tampa Bay and they got smoked. And I was so happy for that. Tampa Bay beat them 31-6. So happy for that. Then in the other game, Philadelphia beat the Atlanta Falcons 20-6, setting up the final game ever at Veterans Stadium was between Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay at that time had never won a game like under 40 degrees or 32 degrees or something like that. So they played, it was January 19th. It was cold. It was probably under 32 degrees in Veterans Stadium, hostile territory and all, but Tampa Bay with their defense held the Philadelphia Eagles to 10 points, and Tampa Bay won 27-10. Sending them to and I was so happy because I can't stand the Eagles. I'm so happy when they lose. So sending the Tampa Bay to the Super Bowl. So in the Super Bowl, I mean, it really wasn't much of a Super Bowl. I mean, what was the score? Was it 31-3? What was the score? 34-3. That Tampa Bay returned 3 interceptions for touchdowns. So with 4 minutes, 47 seconds left to go in the third quarter, Dwight Smith picked the pass off and ran it back 44 yards for a touchdown. And with the extra point, Tampa Bay was up 34-3 with about 19, 20 minutes to go in the game, 34-3. I mean, it was not much of a Super Bowl. What do we got? I mean, they have 4 or 5. Yeah, he threw 5 interceptions, and 3 of them got run back for a touchdown. So, I mean, they really, really, really cost them the game. The turnovers were huge. Then I mean, it was 34-3, and then Oakland scored 3 straight touchdowns. Jerry Porter had a 39-yard touchdown reception. Eric Johnson had a 13-yard punt block return for a touchdown. And then Jerry Rice had a 48-yard touchdown reception from Gannon, make the score 34-21. So there was 6 minutes to go in the game, and it was 34-21. They're kind of within striking range. Well, Tampa Bay still couldn't move the ball or nothing, but so Oakland got the ball back, and with 1:18 left to go, Derek Brooks picked the pass off and ran it back 44 yards for a touchdown to put him up 41-21. Well, then they didn't really have to do this, but I guess maybe it was the Super Bowl, and maybe that's why Smith, whoever that was, I guess maybe wanted to return it. I mean, once again, he didn't have to do it, but with 2 seconds left to go in the game, Tampa Bay's guy Smith picked the pass off and ran it back 50 yards for a touchdown, and they kicked the extra point to make it 48-21. I mean, once again, with 2 seconds left to go in the game, you're up by 20 points. You pick a pass off, you can maybe just take a knee. But I guess maybe he picked it off. It was clear sailing. I don't know. I don't know. But I guess once again, maybe it was in the Super Bowl. Maybe that's why. But they picked 3. Tampa Bay picked off 3 passes, ran them back all for touchdowns. So if you take those 3 pick sixes off the board, I mean, it's 27-21. It's a lot closer of a game. So those interceptions were huge. Those turnovers were absolutely huge. They were absolute killers for the Raiders in this game. But, I mean, all in all, I mean, Tampa Bay had a very, very good team. They had a very nice offense, but their defense was really, really special in 2002. Special defense. So and it was a John Gruden. John Gruden was the coach. But what made so special for that was because the year prior to that, right, he was the coach of the year. Was it the year prior to that? Yeah, the year prior to that, he was the coach of the Oakland Raiders. Right. So this was very, very special for him. I mean, he came in because Gruden's a special, offensive, special offensive mind, and just to be the after he left the Raiders and he wound up becoming the coach of Tampa Bay, and now you're facing your old team in the Super Bowl and you wind up beating them by 48-21, whatever. It's pretty special. So, but I mean, as I said, Tampa Bay was the best team in the league that year by far. Good offense, but special defense. But that pretty much wraps it up for the 2002 for the New York Football Giants. There's Teddy. Teddy's in the house. I saw Tiki run with his helmet in the dirt, bent over like a man. All right. Shockey was good. Carried the Saints. Unsung hero. Oh, yeah. Gotta love Jeremy Shockey. Absolutely. Gotta love Jeremy Shockey. But that wraps up the 2002 season for the New York Giants. They bounced back. They had a little bit of a disappointing season in 2001. They bounced back with a record of 10-6. But once again, that gut-wrenching loss in the 2002 to the San Francisco probably wouldn't have mattered because they probably were not going to beat the Buccaneers the next week if they had to place the Buccaneers because the Bucs defense was way too good. But just the way they lost to the 49ers was just gut-wrenching, absolutely gut-wrenching. And the way the refs blew the call on the final play of the game against the Giants was just absolutely heartbreaking. But unfortunately, this would be the last hurrah for Jim Fassel as his final season would come in 2003. They'll have a losing season and he would be gone. But that's for tomorrow night. This was the 2002 season, and it was all in all a very successful season for the New York Football Giants. So I'll be back again tomorrow night, all right, with the 2003 season for the New York Giants, which just happened to be the 79th season in the history of the New York Giants. I'll see you then.